The lobby for CitizenCon 2954 is in 3.24.3 PTU. Available to all waves, although it's a little difficult to get inside the lobby. Let's talk about it. So, the IAE 2954, also known as 2024 in our timeline, in lore is a time when all the manufacturers are available. If this is your first time at IAE, be sure to pick up all the shirts and hats that you like of all your manufacturers in-game. Always said, I wish CIG sold the shirts in real life and then gave you a copy in the game as like a bundle pack, but that's a topic for another day. You can see that they have a few previews of different kinds of ships they want to highlight, and it includes the Polaris, as well as older favorites like the Fury, which is relatively new, it was last year, and then other standbys like the Cutter series, and of course your Spirits. So there is some really interesting things to see based on the lobby, and I'm gonna cut to the chase just so I don't make this some type of clickbait or something. It's gonna start on November 22nd. We do not have a schedule of every ship manufacturer yet, at least based on what I can see in 3.24.3 PTU, and that's what I'm sticking to. Some of the scheduling and the show running information is still set back in 2953, you can see there in the event program, so do not go by that. I will admit that I tried every single elevator trying to get into a lobby, thinking maybe it's hidden, maybe it's glitched, hoping that it's in there for testing. It's not that out of the realm of possibility, because of how IAE and Invictus are done. They tend to put them in PTU first. They let the lobbies go by, the different showrooms go by very quickly on the show floors, and they go through them. You can see some of the limited merchandise is not in yet that has the IAE colors of the gear that you pick up on those hangars that are right in front of the elevators as I'm running past testing each and every one of these elevators. So IAE in general is the bigger of the two shows. People don't realize that because if this is your first time, this is every single ship in the game is available for purchase. Now there are limited ships, of course, like the Raven that don't count, at least up until now, but I have my theories about when we'll see it. But everything else, including normal limited ships, are going to be available, and especially on the manufacturer's waves. And then don't worry if you have work, school, etc. distracting you, you still have a chance on the last days to pick up any ship. Also, just like Invictus, you can rent for 0 UEC any of the ships that are available. You can see one of the older Hornets, the F7CM, right next to the newer Aegis, Perry, and the Firebird. It looks like they're pushing. So there's some interesting things here. There's not anything earth-shattering or anything like that. You can buy your merch. I really love those shirts, especially if they don't have the Star Citizen logo on them. You know, it's one of those things where if you see somebody in public with them or at a meetup, you already know. One of the other things that's really cool, especially now that orgs are becoming more and more valuable to players and forming up into parties, is that you can get some really fun group shots with some of the stuff that's here. There's often statues, models of older ships that are rare, liveries and such, and some neat stuff. But you can note right here, November 22nd to December 5th will be IAE 2954, and it will be in New Babbage, Microtech. So that's not always a given for those who haven't been here for a while. Microtech is often a favorite because it's great for ground vehicles and space-based craft, and it has an excellent layout for venues. It's a convention town, I would argue, in the game, whereas other ones that are less ideal are Orison, which just recently was able to spawn ground vehicles. Up until recently, that was not very practical. Note again the date, November 22nd to December 5th. And there is a interesting Hornet logo coming up in a moment after I'm done trying to get the info guy to give me any info. There is some interesting game mechanics there. So Stanton is the system that we've lived in all these years, and Actually, next door, the system of Terra is much. It's one of the. It's trying to vie for be the capital of UEE. So in a few years, we may see more of these IAE and Invictuses being held in Terra, especially on Terra 2, instead of here at Microtech and other venues in Stanton. But in the shorter term, I think that other venues in Stanton do a very good job. Even though I just kind of talked bad about Orison, Orison does have a very nice convention venue. Area 18 is often a hot spot for these type of events. The only one that's kind of odd man out is Loreville, which was the first that, at least if I remember right, for these type of events, where you rode an elevator inside the spaceport, and it was pretty decent for that, for its time, as long as you had 32 gigs of RAM. I kid you not. I had to buy 32 gigs of RAM to be able to run it. So, that was an interesting time. But these are from the earlier periods of the game where you were not able to load all these ships and load the players loading their own ships and such, so they kind of spaced them out. And I think you've seen with Drake events at Orison and also at the venues that are across the system, we've seen that Drake's Defense Con for Invictus is at the spaceports, where it would put some more heavy load and everything's fine. Now, you do ride in an elevator, but it is what it is. Exciting times ahead. Thank you for checking out the IAE lobby with me. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and thank you to my long-term subscribers. I'll see y'all on November 22nd on IAE for live, and also highly encourage anyone who wants to take part to jump into the PTUs and test these as these lobbies become more easily accessible, and then at the more fun part, jumping into the convention showroom halls themselves and being able to check this out and help make the event the best possible event we can have for the community. Have a great one. Wait, you're still here? Alright, let's do some overtime then. So the recent Galaxy retraction and bolstering back up to having it be able to construct, to me, was just a sign of the faster pace of development that we're currently facing. And I'm not saying it wasn't a big deal. I am a Galaxy base owner just to have that module that we were promised with construction. But at the same time, I'm realistic in the sense of this is how things happen when we start having more motion on everything. I think with the Nothing Ever Happens crowd, they have a habit of, like, within 12 hours pulling the ripcord and freaking out. And I think that the system basically worked. The CIG was open more with their communication. The community responded back with how they felt about that change. And CIG said, "Hey, we heard you. You're right. But look, we got to work on this first. We currently have this ship in production. All right, so let's just get this going, then we'll circle back to the Galaxy with its construction module." That is very practical, especially when you know the Percy. Now that we're hearing the Percy's coming out before the Galaxy. Now, I understand that some folks might have a more hard line about this, but especially because I have. To be fair, I have a Pioneer I'm literally sitting on, and I'm very happy right now, that I've had for years, buyback off and on, and staying now to buyback now. But the kind of position everything's in, I I kind of stress to people to calmly address your concerns towards CIG and try to be constructive about it. Why you think it's not working out and why with this. And this is a clear cut one, but I just saw some really crazy memes and stuff, and I don't think it was that bad. I hope that it doesn't tarnish the situation where the ship people, especially under crew, decide, hey, let's never let them speak in public again. I've noticed, especially with CIG, they've been backing off of Discord conversations and a lot of different Discords, and I feel like it's the same reason. Somebody mistypes, or they say something out of turn, or they say something they truly mean, but they're not the final decider. Like it's still being considered in the background or whatever, and then all of a sudden Reddit's alight and every Discord's freaking out, Spectrum's alight, the entire community's gone just really out there with it. So I just don't know where I'm at with it. And I kind of threw this in as an overtime because I don't think this deserves its own video, and I think I'd be accused of trying to milk a drama if it was its own video. The video's back that way. You already watched it. It had a nice send-off, had a nice ending, but you're here because we're just having a frank discussion here, and if I could say anything to the kind folks who give this video a chance and have stuck with it this long, and particularly my subscribers, thank you for being here. I just stress calmness during times like this, and understand that we're going from a trickle out of a garden hose to a fire hose of content, and things are going to get broken. And do be diligent and watch for things that are major issues, like the Galaxy issue and a few others. For example, the modules for the Tally finally being sold, or the ATLS being sold in game, which it should have been from the beginning. And consider yourself where you're at, in a timeline where there's so much stuff flying out the door. And I'm not trying to defend CIG completely here. CIG should have said much faster that the ATLS will be sold in game for an extremely low amount of money. We're still trying to figure out the amount of money and where it'll be sold, but it will be sold in the next coming patch or the next few build cycles or something like that to calm people down. That would have been an easy win for them. I'm not quite sure why that wasn't the way it went. But hey, what do I know? So, I'm not just saying everything that's pro CIG here. I think the community should have a say, and it has a great place, and boy, do they know how to say things. So to the folks in the community who have these concerns, keep them up. Just don't go crazy with the memes. Don't go crazy with how hyperbole things get. Just upvote what you like, post up things you're not seeing, and keep that energy going with the feedback, because the feedback is critical. Just do it in a positive way. That's all I ask. Or don't. I don't know. I'm not in charge of anything. Once again, to those who are hearing this for the first weekend, have a great weekend. I hope it's as peaceful, melancholy thing as possible. And that, honestly, get your butt in the PTU. Stop complaining about live. I'm going to be harsh about that, at least a little bit. Get on the PTU. There's one glitch where you have to hold down the F key and click the door a bunch of times to get out of the tab. That's about all I've run into so far on the PTU. Have a good time. Go find some lava caves. I'm going to put in the description where to go find these caves, because there's some great work that Drax did, and that's a great way to spend your Saturday, honestly. All right, for real this time. Fly safe.